Samantha Markle has never told me a lie. Every single thing that she has said about either you or Meghan has checked out factually.
It starts with a voice, measured, cold, and unmistakably familiar. On the other end of a private call, Samantha Markle says 7 words that freeze the room. The hospital records don't lie. They never did. No one was supposed to hear this. It wasn't an interview. It wasn't a media stunt. It was a quiet, confidential call between Samantha and a royal aide. But somehow the recording surfaced, and now it's out there. Not as a rumor, not as speculation, but as something more dangerous. A crack in the illusion. A voice that wasn't seeking attention, but rather release.
To be honest with you, I love both my daughters. I'm not happy with what one of my daughters is doing. And I don't know what caused her to do this. We've had this conversation before. She's telling lies.
Samantha doesn't scream. She doesn't accuse. Her words land with precision. She speaks of dates that never lined up, timelines that were always too perfect, and a paper trail that, if followed, leads nowhere. For years, she's been dismissed as bitter, but this isn't bitterness. It's resignation. Because according to her, the lie began before Meghan ever met a prince, before the royal wedding, before the tabloids, before any of it. And if she's right, then the truth isn't just personal, it's institutional. But this was only the beginning. On paper, Meghan Markle was born on August 4th, 1981. That date has been accepted, repeated, printed, and celebrated for decades. But deep inside a courthouse in California, a document was quietly sealed years ago, without explanation. A judge signed off on it. No media coverage, no press, just silence. And that silence is what triggered Samantha's suspicions in the first place, because something wasn't adding up. Year after year, online sleuths and former classmates pointed out oddities. Graduation photos didn't match the timeline. Meghan seemed older than the peers in her grade, more mature, more developed. Even in early interviews, her stories about her childhood shifted. One moment she was 11, writing a protest letter to a company. Another time she was already working in television years before the public timeline claimed. But the real break came when an anonymous source revealed that a request had been filed to lock Meghan's birth certificate from public access. And that only happens for 2 reasons: protection or concealment. And what was being concealed was still a mystery, until someone started digging deeper. And what they found would shake the story wide open. The first crack didn't come from a government document. It came from a dusty school yearbook. Circulating online forums, a photo from Immaculate Heart High School caught fire. Meghan, front and center, looked polished and poised, but noticeably older than her peers. At first, it seemed like nothing more than an angle, a shadow, a trick of the lens, until former classmates started speaking out. One said, "She always seemed like she had already lived a life before the rest of us caught up." Another recalled how Meghan had graduated early, or at least that's what they were told. But no one could ever confirm when she truly enrolled or how old she really was at the time. The school's official alumni records list her as part of a class that doesn't match her public age. Year after year, things just didn't line up. Digging deeper, an independent journalist tried to request verification from the school itself, only to be told the records were inaccessible due to privacy concerns. But why the secrecy? Why the blocks and barriers? And why, just weeks later, did Meghan's representatives issue a public reminder that speculating about a woman's age is toxic and misogynistic? They didn't deny it. They reframed it. And that's when things took an even stranger turn. Somewhere between curiosity and obsession, a new theory began to surface, louder, sharper, and more invasive. A private investigator, reportedly hired by someone close to Samantha, claimed to have accessed data that didn't match with Meghan's public records. No one confirmed it officially, but whispers spread fast. The PI hinted at something genetic, something biological. Something that couldn't be faked with a birth certificate or a PR statement. Rumors began circulating in digital tabloids and private blogs that DNA testing had uncovered a discrepancy in Meghan's recorded age, possibly up to 4 years. One source went further, claiming Meghan's real birth year was closer to 1977, not 1981. That would mean she was nearly 40, not 36, when she married Prince Harry. a shift that recontextualizes every timeline, every milestone, every carefully constructed piece of her public image. The internet exploded. Some fans called it misogynistic slander. Others said the real scandal wasn't about age, it was about deception, about trust. And the longer the palace remained silent, the more powerful the rumors became. Meghan's team issued no denials. Instead, they redirected the conversation to mental health, privacy, and dignity. But not everyone was ready to let it go, especially not Samantha, because the next move came from inside the royal walls. Inside Buckingham Palace, the mood shifted. Not publicly, not officially, but behind the scenes, aides were scrambling. According to insiders, a quiet directive was issued: no comment, no reaction, no engagement. The goal wasn't to deny, it was to suffocate the story with silence, to starve it of oxygen. But by then it was already too late. One senior staffer reportedly warned, if this gains traction, it could undo everything we've built around her image. Meghan wasn't just a duchess. She was a brand, a symbol, a pivot point for the modern monarchy. Questioning her age wasn't just petty, it was dangerous. It opened the door to deeper questions. What else had been polished? What else had been rewritten? Samantha, meanwhile, received a legal notice, carefully worded but unmistakably threatening. It didn't accuse her of lying. It warned her about unsubstantiated public commentary that may lead to reputational harm. Translation: stop talking. But she didn't. In fact, Samantha doubled down. Because while the palace tried to suffocate the story, she was preparing something else. Something that couldn't be silenced. An interview. Her words, her version, and what she said would make even her harshest critics pause. Because what she revealed wasn't just about Meghan's age, the camera doesn't catch her flinch. Samantha Markle sits across from the host, eyes steady, voice calm. This time, there's no phone call, no hidden mic, no leaked audio. It's her, on record, on screen, and absolutely unfiltered. She doesn't launch into accusations. She doesn't cry. She simply states what to her has been obvious for years. Meghan hasn't just lied about her age, she's lied about who she is. The room falls silent. Samantha brings receipts, timelines, interviews, public contradictions that have long been brushed off as media spin. She walks through each one, slowly, methodically, like someone who has waited years for this exact moment. There's no rage in her tone, no dramatics, just a cold, measured certainty. You don't seal records if you have nothing to hide, the host presses her. Is this about revenge? Jealousy? Bitterness? Samantha shrugs. Truth doesn't care how you feel about it. The clip goes viral within hours. Hashtags explode. Analysts debate whether her claims hold water or whether this is just another round of family mudslinging. But it doesn't matter anymore. The narrative isn't under control. And Meghan's silence is no longer protection. It's ammunition. Because just when the internet thought it had heard it all, someone else came forward. And she wasn't a relative. She was an eyewitness. She didn't want attention. In fact, she asked not to be named. But what she said sent shockwaves through the quiet corners of the internet. A former maternity nurse, now retired and living a quiet life outside Los Angeles, came forward anonymously through a trusted journalist. Her voice blurred, her identity protected, but her words unmistakable. I was there the day Meghan was born, she said. I remember it clearly, not because she was special at the time, but because of the date. The date she remembers didn't match the one we've all been told, not even close. She describes a humid morning, a rushed delivery, and a young mother who looked overwhelmed. The year she recalls isn't 1981, it's 1977. She swears by it. She even remembers the newspaper headline that day, something about a blackout in New York City. That event, July 1977. At first, skeptics dismissed her. Maybe her memory's off. Maybe she confused patients. But then she revealed something else. A journal. A personal log she kept from her hospital days with one page bookmarked and worn from decades of flipping. Meghan's name, a date, and a note that simply reads, "Healthy baby girl, strong lungs." The hospital refused to comment. The log was never publicly authenticated, but it didn't matter, because this wasn't a theory anymore. It was a first-hand account, a piece of lived memory. And suddenly, everything shifted. Meghan's timeline, her image, her silence, it all began to fracture. not in a loud explosion, but in quiet, growing cracks. And just when it felt like things couldn't spiral further, someone from Meghan's own world added fuel to the fire. The betrayal didn't come from the outside. It came from within. Quiet, subtle, and devastating. It started with a simple click, an unfollow. One of Meghan's oldest friends, a woman who had stood by her through her early career, suddenly removed her from Instagram. No explanation, no post, just silence. But that silence said more than any caption ever could. Then came the cryptic stories. A former stylist who once helped craft Meghan's iconic looks posted a quote from Shakespeare. "All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players." She didn't tag anyone. She didn't have to. Followers knew exactly who she meant. Next came the makeup artist who quietly deleted every behind-the-scenes photo of Meghan from their profile. Then the wellness coach. Then the brand consultant. One by one, her curated circle began to vanish, digitally, then emotionally. None of them gave statements, but the pattern was loud. Meghan's tight inner world, once impenetrable, was unraveling in plain sight. Some said it was fear, others said it was guilt, but a few believed something else. Self-preservation. That maybe, just maybe, those who knew the real timeline didn't want to go down with the story when it collapsed. And while Meghan's team scrambled to contain the fallout, Samantha's words echoed louder than ever. But it was the final line that landed like thunder. In a follow-up interview, days after the nurse's revelation, Samantha Markle was asked one final question. Simple, direct. Why now? Her answer wasn't angry. It wasn't even dramatic. She leaned forward slightly and said, "Because the crown only survives if the story holds. And this one doesn't." There was no dramatic music, no shouting. Just those words, echoing louder than anything else. Samantha wasn't talking about jealousy. She wasn't talking about family feuds or headlines or clout. She was talking about the myth, the fairy tale, the carefully manufactured image that Meghan built and that millions bought into. The story of a modern princess. And in her eyes, that story was fiction. She said Meghan didn't just hide her age, she reinvented herself. Timeline by timeline, photo by photo, year by year, a carefully curated history where truth was optional and optics ruled. Then came the last sentence, the one that sent the internet into meltdown. "When the truth finally lands," Samantha said, "it'll shake the crown." No one replied. The interviewer froze. The comment section exploded. And as the clip went viral, one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't about age anymore. It was about trust. And the moment the world stopped believing, the real story began.